In this video I'm going to take a look at compound paths. So compound paths are the correct way to cut a shape out of a shape or to punch a hole in something. So I'm going to look at this in the programs that work with vectors, because that's where you'll be using this concept of compound paths. And that would be Illustrator, which is what we're used to creating and editing vectors with, and also in InDesign, which can handle simple vectors just fine, and it can save you some back and forth. So I have a shape here, and I'm in Illustrator right now, so I have a shape here where I have this done. Put that on top. So this is a compound path. This has a shape cut out of a shape. In this case, it's a circle cut out of this custom piece that I drew with the pen tool. So we're going to look at a couple of ways to do this in Illustrator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I need to get two vector shapes here. And I'm going to go with the pen tool, and you can of course use the rectangles and ellipses. But I just want to make the point that you can do this with any shape whatsoever. So I'm going to draw this little shape here. That's a little rough, but and I'm going to get two ellipses. Make those a different color just so I can see them while I work. And I'm going to make a little mask shape here. And I'm just going to option drag to make a exact copy of this eye hole. Alright, so to make this actually a mask, you might say, well, hey, I could just select those, make them white. Look, it looks exactly the same, right? But it's not, because those are solid white and you can't see through them, so that's not a very good mask if you can't see through it. So I'm going to select one of the front shapes and the mask shape. And the first way I'm going to show you how to do this is through the Object menu. Under Compound Path, you very simply say Make. And that now makes one of those eye holes visible. So the other one, it looks like it disappeared. It just went behind. So I'm going to arrange Send to Back. So the other eye shape is still there. So that was Object Compound Path Make. You also notice that there is a release there, so you can undo this, and this will pop back up. It'll take the same fill color as what you cut it out of, but you can release it. So the other way to do this is through the Pathfinder palette. So if you don't have the Pathfinder in your sidebar, you can go to Window and just check it, and it will pop up. And in CSC 2017, the text labels are kind of slow to pop up in this version of Illustrator's palette, but it's this second button here. That's the dark fill square overlapping a light fill square, and it's called Minus Front, so it's subtracting the front object from the back, which may make a lot more sense than the term compound path, let's be honest. So again, I'm going to select my white top object and the back, and I'm going to do my Minus Front. And now I've got a mask. So now this is one shape with holes cut in it, and it's not three shapes that are grouped together pretending to be see-through. So there is my compound path, or my Pathfinder Minus Front in Illustrator. So I'm going to flip over to InDesign. And in InDesign, things work much the same way, because there's a lot of commonality between Illustrator and InDesign as far as compound paths are concerned. So I have a little bit more of an elaborate thing I'm going to do here. But real quick, I'm just going to show you a simple one. So I'm going to draw a square here by holding the Shift key and using my rectangle tool. And I'll draw another one, give it a different color so you can see it. So I can use two different colors. So I'm going to select both with the one that's going to be cut out that's always on top. I can go to Object, Paths, Make Compound Path. So it's worded a little, or organized a little bit differently, but it's still there. And there I've got my compound path. And I could go to Object. I could just undo this, but just to show you, I could go to Object, Paths, or in Illustrator be Object, Compound Paths, Release. And I'll do my Release Compound Path to show you that you get your shapes back. So this always takes that background color, and I can just make it a different color and put it back here. And much the same way as Illustrator, we have a Pathfinder palette. Just looks a little bit different. So again, you can go to Window, and in InDesign this is under Objects and Layout, and you can get your Pathfinder. So with these two objects selected, with my selection tool, I can click this second option here. It looks exactly the same as Illustrator, dark square over light square, and I got my minus front. And there's my shape. So this next thing I'm going to show you is just slightly more complex. So I'm just going to cut this for a second so you can see what I have underneath. So I've got these red lines, and they're just here just to be exciting. So I want to see those through little windows in this blue area. But I want several little windows. So I've got this one shape, so I'm going to hold Shift and Option, and I'm going to drag some copies out. And you can see those little green spacers telling me that they are evenly spaced. I'm intentionally going to do one wrong so I can show you what to do there. So I'm going to hold the Shift key, click on each one to select, and I can use my Distribute option to distribute their horizontal centers. Now if you're on a small screen like your laptop, you can just get your Align palette, and that's also under Window and Object and Layout, Align. So I'm going to, under Distribute, I'm going to distribute their horizontal centers. So horizontally distribute them. I know they're perfectly evenly spaced. So I don't have to group them. I'm just going to have these front objects be cut out of the back one. So I'm going to hold Shift and select the back one. So now I have all of the front ones and this back one selected. I'm going to go back to my Pathfinder and do my minus front. And now I have several windows that are showing me those red lines or this beautiful Icelandic landscape. So that is making compound paths and using the minus front option in InDesign and Illustrator.